Hey, welcome to the Everyday Leader Live. I'm Jim Burgoon. We had some technical difficulties there for a second. I don't know what happened, but hey, we're back and I am so excited to be with you here on this Friday evening. We are going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about all things that have to do with building you up, building you greater influence, greater impact, and greater incomes, because we want you to be the leader worth following. So welcome to this Friday evening. If you're coming in and if you're chatting with me, say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're coming from. I'm over here on YouTube, so please jump on over here. Let me know, say hello and all those things. But we're going to start tonight off. This is a Q&A session. These are times where you will be able to ask your questions live. You'll be able to get in there and be able to, hit up and things. I do have some pre-questions that were asked beforehand that I'm going to start answering, but I do want to be able to let you have the opportunities that you can ask questions live with me. So guys, here we go. We're going to start off this evening with simply this. Hey, what about managing conflict? That was one of my biggest questions is how do you manage conflict? How do you manage conflict well, right? How do you get into the place where you can do these places where you manage conflict? Well, here you go, guys. And I love doing these little slides for you guys. So we're going to talk about the first thing in managing conflict is managing personality styles. Listen, if you're managing conflict at all, let me show you that one more time for you guys who are just popping on. If you're managing conflict in any way, shape, or form, you got to understand the personality differences between you and the person you're in conflict with. First and foremost, everybody has a predictable pattern of conflict, right? Or predictable pattern of personality. We're not the same people. You and I are not the same people at all. We have different ways we like to talk. We have different ways of dealing with conflicts. Some personalities run from conflict. Some personalities jump into conflict. Some personalities don't like being anywhere near conflict. Some personalities are just, grab a baseball bat. Some people are soft. Everybody has a way of dealing with conflict. So the number one way that we need to understand is how do they deal with conflict? Like I'm a person who I want to deal with it right away. I want to be able to say, let's do it. Give me what the details are. What decisions do we have to make? Let's get it done. Let's do it. Let's get it over with, because quickly done is quickly forgotten. I don't want to hold on to things. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me want to be somebody who hangs in there to say, I'm going to be like holding on to this thing, right? I don't know. Is that you? What type of person are you in conflict? Now, my wife, on the other hand, she processes. She likes time. She likes the time to sit there and say, you know what? Give me some time to think about conflict. Give me some time to think about what's going on and how I need to talk about this and how do I need to think about this and how do I need to process this, right? Because again, it all comes down to that whole, what is our personality differences? Do we process it or do we deal it straight away? Many guys will deal with it straight away. Many women will process it. However, sometimes the roles are reversed. So the number one thing to understand is when you're managing conflict, conflict is something you're going to manage. You cannot run from it. No matter how hard you try, you cannot run from it. You got to learn to manage it. So the number one thing is learning that personality, learning that you both have different personalities. And this could be in your home, your church. This could be at your business, your school, wherever it is. Understanding personalities is the number one thing that you need to learn if you're going to manage conflict well. The second thing is, and here's what I want to help you out with, guys. The second thing is to not only have boundaries, but to enforce boundaries. Now, hold on. Now, in the 20 years of me doing leadership, coaching, leadership consulting, pastoring, and just different things for over the last 20 years, the number one thing I will tell you where people could run into trouble in conflict is they have no boundaries. Or if they have boundaries, the boundaries weren't communicated, or the boundaries that were communicated weren't enforced. And it's simply as easy as something as saying, you can't talk to me like that. Or you can't come into my space like that, or you can't be in my time, or you can't take this from me. It's boundaries that say, this is me, this is the way I am, and this is how I am, and this, you cannot encroach on my style. That's how we deal with that. And this is how we're going to be, right? This is where we're going to be. You need boundaries. Matter of fact, there was a study, I read a book, and I believe the book was actually called Boundaries by Henry Townsend, or Cloud. I think it was Henry Cloud, and Townsend and Cloud were the two guys who write these books on boundaries. They're very good books. And they actually did a study. They did it with kindergartners, right? They were a bunch of kindergartners, first grade, and they were out there in a schoolyard. And in the schoolyard, they were at the top of the schoolhouse, and at the bottom there was a fence. And they would go out to the schoolyard every day, and they would play at the fence. All these kids would play at the fence. They would be on there. They're hanging on the fence. They'd get on the fence. They hanging down there and play all that stuff, right? And then one day they took the fence away. They wanted to see what was going to happen with the fence, so they took the fence away. And when they took the fence away, all the kids stayed up on the top of the school, where the school was. No longer did they play on at the fence. Why was that? Because the boundary was moved. Nobody knew where the limit was. They had played the limit for months. They had played the limit for a long time. But once the boundary was no longer there, no, they couldn't see it. It was no longer an expectation that was visible, that was talked about. It was no longer a place that they were comfortable or able to trust it. So they stayed up to where they could trust. Guys, we live in a world where your boundaries need to be spoken about. Your boundaries need to be talked about. Your boundaries need to be like, hey, these are my boundaries. Communicate them, right? And you and I want to do this. We all have boundaries. We all have expectations. But an expectation that isn't shared is an expectation that's going to be walked over every single time. Think about the times you've been frustrated. Think about the times that you have been angry at somebody because somebody has encroached on your space. Somebody has encroached on your time. Somebody has hurt your feelings. Why was that? Because they violate a boundary that you had. But ask yourself a question. Did they ever know it was a boundary? And I'm going to honestly tell you 9 out of 10 times, they probably didn't even know it was a boundary in your life. So it's not only having a boundary, it's communicating a boundary, and it's also learning to enforce that boundary and saying, this is my space. There was a time where me and my wife had this boundary where if we got into a heated discussion, or, a loving triad, or whatever you want to call it, whatever your family calls it, where you get a little bit higher in your octaves, and you're like, hey, where you start throwing little barbs at each other. It's no longer positive discussions. It's more conflict than positive discussions. We would take a pillow. This was a boundary for us. We would take a pillow. It didn't matter who it was. And we would just kind of either hand or toss the pillow. And once the pillow was tossed, that was our boundary of enforcement. That says the conversation's over till a later date. And we did that for a little while. It was us saying, that's it. The towel is thrown. We're done, right? When the towel is thrown and we're done, we're done. And we have to come back and talk about it later. We had a boundary and we enforced it. That's managing conflict well. Conflict will come, but only the mature manage it well. You cannot run from conflict, guys. Your personality style may say, I don't like conflict, I'm going to run from it, but that's not what you need to do. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I need to do. We need to manage it and manage it well. And I'm going to tell you, the greater success in your life is those who have managed conflict well. Let's look at the next one. The next one is all about respecting differences. Guys, I can't tell you this one enough, how important this is. Listen, we're all different. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, not a Christian. It doesn't matter what is your sexual preferences. It doesn't matter. Any of that is very personal to every single person. Listen, I'm a Christian, right? I am somebody who believes in Jesus Christ. I believe in all of that stuff very, very passionately. But I respect others' decisions not to believe in that stuff. And I respect other people's decisions and beliefs in what they believe. Why do I do that? Because everybody has the right to choose their path. Everybody has the right to choose what they believe and what way they go. And, I want everybody to live happy and healthy. And so if I respect differences, I can manage conflict in that. Can we talk about issues we disagree on? Yeah, absolutely. Here's the deal. Maturity says that we can disagree and still have great conversation. That's maturity. That's life. Iron sharpens iron says, hey, listen, I don't have to agree with you, but I sure enough can have a great conversation because I'm a conversationalist. If you couldn't tell, I love a good conversation. And at the end, I can agree to disagree. And me and you may never be on the same page, but we can still maintain a friendship in our disagreement. That's how you manage conflict. It's always coming to a place where you respect differences. Listen, the next thing on these things of managing conflict, don't avoid it. Don't avoid it. I want you to look at me for a second. Here's what I want you to understand. The more you avoid conflict, the more you run from it, the worse it gets, because now you're creating more and more tension because your imagination gets in. Do you ever have those places where when you walk away and you're like, oh my gosh, and now you're thinking and you're like, what if they hate me? And what if this? And you're starting to blow this thing up to a place you're like, what it was is now what it isn't. And what it could have been is now what it shouldn't be. And you're like, oh my goodness, what is really going on here? And you realize that if I would just manage the tension of it, if I would have just had the conversation, if I would have just went into the thing instead of avoided it, it would have all been different. It would have all been like one of these places where we could have, if we still had a mild conflict, it wouldn't have been great conflict, but at least we could have managed it, as opposed to now we live in this tension all the time. And here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. You're not going to run. You're not going to be able to live your life conflict free. You have to learn to navigate it. Let's look at the last one. And the last one is understand the goal of conflict. Why do we have conflict? Why do we even have conflict? Well, conflict is disagreement, right? Conflict ensures when disagreement happens. But here's the difference. Also, conflict happens when growth happens. Growth happens from conflict, right? I can't have growth unless I have conflict. And if I'm going to have like even internal conflict, like I don't even need to have conflict with you. I can have conflict with me. Like I can have conflict internally, but growth will come from that if I'm mature about it. So if I confront myself on issues that needed to be confronted, then guess what? Growth can actually happen from those things. So you really come to these places, ladies and gentlemen, friends, you really come to these places where you understand that you should never avoid this and you should dive into it, because growth will always happen from the places of conflict. And you and I have to understand we're going to really want to come to the places where we grab hold or gravitate to a mature understanding of how to manage conflict, right? That's really what it's going to come down to. It's really what it's going to come down to. Okay, before I get into my next question, if any of you guys, like I said, if any of you guys have any thoughts, any questions, drop them in the comments over there. I will answer them live on here. You know, this is question and answer session. I want to answer your questions live. I do want to acknowledge those that I can see on YouTube here who are with me. Crazy Guy Gaming. Hey, what's going on, Crazy Guy Gaming? Glad you're here with me. Rick Berman, we're so grateful to see you as well. See, and I like this. I'm restreaming from Restream. Loving this. You guys here over on Facebook, I will invite you over here on YouTube. There is the link in there in one of the comments in YouTube or on Facebook to come over to YouTube so that we can all join the party and you can ask your questions live with me over here on YouTube. Grateful to have each and every one of you guys with you. I do want to, before I go into the second question, I do want to take a second and I want to drop some real good 2020 thoughts, wisdom for you, something I've really learned over the last little while. How many of you guys, honestly, in the last little while have really wrestled with 2020, right? And you've come to a place where you've wrestled with. Now, some people, and I'm kind of on the other side of this, where I've had a little bit of wrestling, but I've really come to a place where 2020 was ultimately good for me. I don't know about you. Maybe it wasn't as good for you. Maybe it was a dumpster fire with just a place waiting to happen, right? Maybe it was a place where you struggled at your highest places. Maybe you lost more than you were willing to give up. And maybe it was a place of purging. Maybe it was some of these places where you were just waiting for great things and you had great words for 2020 and 2020 really hit you with a sucker punch, right? But I want to tell you something about something I've learned from 2020. And it's two things. And I shared this with my group last night. And for you guys who are in my group over there on Facebook, I'm going to reiterate real quickly two wisdom drops for you. The first one is focus. What 2020 has really showed us is, listen, focus on what matters. Focus on what matters, guys. There are many things that we thought really did matter until those things we lost. And that could have been things, that could have been people, that could have been finances, it could have been employment. There are a lot of things we lost in 2020. And we really found what mattered. And there was a resurgence of focusing on the family. And there was a resurgence of health. And there was a resurgence of focusing on mental health and physical health and all these other healths. So there was a beauty that came out of the ashes. There was this beauty that came from all the trash that said, hey, I'm really going to focus on being healthy. I'm really going to focus on being better than I was. And maybe like you, like me, maybe you're in business. I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. I'm a speaker. And maybe you said my business shrunk or something. Maybe that was you. And maybe it was because your business was too complexity. You have too much complexity, which brings into the second thing that I think 2020 has really helped a lot of us come down, is taking complexity and bring it down to simplicity. It's helped us take complexity and bring us down to simplicity. Guys, if 2020 has done two things, it's allowed us to focus and bring simplicity, right? If we can be thankful, like I'm a guy who loves to be like thankful and I love to find gratitude in everything. I think if we can find gratitude and thankfulness in everything, I think we'll be fulfilled and I think we'll find significance. And if we can do anything, find it in focus and simplicity. The fact that we now know from 2020 that we can find in all of this, um, that we can find this real what is important, and that in the simplicity of that we can really enjoy our lives once again instead of being so complex. And then going in 2021 as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's just trying to live your life the best you can sit there and say, I'm not going to make my life complex. I'm just going to go back to the basics. I'm going to back to the simplistic sections of my life, and I'm just going to say, you know what, here's what matters, here's where I'm going to grow, and here's how I'm going to serve humanity. And that's really what it comes down to, guys. All right, I got a live question here. I'm going to answer this. We're always asking our questions live, guys, and I love that we're here having these interactions in these chats. So we're on Restream here, and let me hit this and hide this little thing and put this question up here from Rick Berman. And the question says this from Rick: what if you have a coworker that refuses to talk to you because he hates you? Wow, what a great conversation. Now, hate is an incredibly strong word, right? Hate means he absolutely hates your existence. He absolutely hates everything about you. He wishes that you were never born, right? That's a really, really strong word. So, but let's just go for the fact that maybe he has a really strong dislikes for you. And we're gonna just say that what if there is that thing where he just doesn't want to talk to you, period. Now, I would ask certain questions. Okay, so you're in a work relationship, you're together, so there has to come a couple things. So let me pull up this conflict thing again, and we can actually walk through some of these steps. Number one, you look at personalities. So you have to really come back to a thing of what is your personality versus his personality, which means how do you relate to people and how does he relate to people, right? So if he really hates you, then I got to ask the self, how have I related to him, right? I always look at myself first. How have I related to him that has caused these type of emotions to rise up? Now, I'm not taking the blame for him hating me. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is what in me has triggered some of this. So I am going to take responsibility for where I am in the process. So I'm going to sit there and I'm going to evaluate my responses, my personality, and how maybe he reacts to life, right? This is going to take a little bit of understanding of how people think and the psychology of people. And this is why I teach DISC personality testing and DISC, indicators and stuff to companies and stuff on how to manage conflict within the business realm, because different personalities handle different things. Like being at one point, like if you're a high S personality who doesn't manage conflict well, means, matter of fact, you run from conflict because you're ultimately shy. You want everybody to be harmonious and loving, and you see many things as challenges, and so therefore conflict rises everywhere around you. Whereas the other person could be an I personality or a D personality, which is naturally in conflict mode with a lot of different things. And so there's already natural conflict there because it could be feeling like natural conflict, but it may not be. So there's a lot of questions I would start asking, and we can start with the personal differences. Like, what are those personality differences between the two that has caused this? And then what personality differences has caused a greater rift, right? So that's where I always start with. Because again, the number one thing when you're dealing with this is, again, when it goes down, we talk about this place down here where it says, don't avoid it, manage it. So what has caused the tension? What has caused the rift, right? And then the other question I would ask here is where can I find common ground? And I want to show you something. One of the principles we teach in leadership is called the 101 principle. It's called the 101% principle. Find the 1% that you guys can agree on it and agree on it 100% of the time. Because if you can't agree 99% of the time on something, that there is 1% that you can agree on. Find that 1% and just begin to agree on it, because you have to find common ground to build relationship with. And it could be anything. It could be simple gestures that you start, but there has to be common ground that you use to open up the relationship again, right? So in your personality, learning to blend or learning to bridge the gap into where he is or she, whoever the person is, and where that person is, in order to bridge the gap, to open up conversation, receiving the fact that they're probably going to be very venomous towards you at first. Just saying, already accept that fact, and already mentally saying, I accept that they're going to be venomous towards me, but I'm not going to react. Remember, you get the option, react or respond. I'm going to respond to conflict in a healthy way, in a way that's going to promote health, or at least a working relationship in the workspace, right? Because it's just a workspace relationship, and I'm going to respond in a healthy way. So if I can do that, I can start building little by little. And then even if he doesn't like you or she doesn't like you, you can at least start mending a working relationship where you can have a conversation where it's not as tense, and they can still leave at the day and still not really like you, but they can now respect you enough to talk to you. But it all starts at conversation and then building bridges, those little gaps to find that 101%, that 1% that you can agree on, because I'm going to tell you what that does. That 1% that you agree on it 100%. The person really thinks that you agree all the time on everything, and it builds influence. And they're like, oh, wow, we really do agree. And it allows you to bridge the gap to the 99% that you don't agree on. So you can actually start little by little bridging that gap. So that's what I would start doing. And I always start with that self-reflection, and then I move over into those places of, how can I bridge those gaps? So that's a great question, Rick. Thank you for asking it. And then I, love you free to come back on the channel and just hit me in the comments and let me know how that goes at your work. Because again, we're always here for your success and to see the success of people getting back together and having that healthy or relational fitness. Because again, it's about building leadership and it's about building those relationships. Great question, man. And if anybody else has those questions, we'd love to be able to answer these again on live. So let's go to our next pre-question that we had ahead of schedule. And if you have any other questions, I would love to get them. So the next thing that we had was a friend of mine had asked, what are some key characteristics of great leaders? Now, I love questions like this because when you get into the characteristics of leadership, guys, you really get into the characteristics where, let me show you it this way. You get into these characteristics of so many different patterns of conversation of what is a leader, how does a leader lead, and what do they look like, and all these different things. And if you ask a lot of different people, they're going to have a lot of different things, right? And I want to bring out some great conversational pieces. And I've actually got 2 or 3 little graphics for you that are going to show a few of these things, because I think in all of these, there's some commonality through them. I think there's some real good commonality that you can really think about, because if you can start putting these different things in your life, you could become a great leader. And what I mean is, you may be a good leader. Matter of fact, you may be a really good leader, but we need to be a better leader, every one of us. And we evaluate on how we can get better. You may be, some people who are watching this may not be a great leader, want to be a better leader. Some of you may be a good leader, want to be a great leader. Some of you want to move from a great leader to an amazing leader, and so forth and so on, because there's always opportunity to get better. So we look at these things, we evaluate where we are, and then we say, how can I get better? That is the number one question every leader should be asking. If you're not asking that question, guess what, guys? That is the question. You should get your pen and paper. You should pull these things out. I got index cards all over my desk, everywhere I'm at. I'm always writing things down. The number one question is, how can I get better? That's the number one growth question. Put it down, write it down, put it up on your board, do those things. How can I get better? And these are ways when you start seeing these things, like slides like this, like strong convictions. Guys, if I was to sit there and say, a great characteristic of a great leader is a strong conviction, guess what? When you see somebody who's out there and they're like, man, this is why I'm doing it. I'm going to end world hunger and I'm going to save 1 billion people. And I'm going to do that. There's something magnetic about that. And the people who have that are so convinced that they're right, that are so convinced that there's no room that there's going to be wrong. There's no room that anything could be other than what they believe to be true. There's a magnetic quality about them, and people follow them because of that. So it goes back to the question, how strong is your passion? How strong is your why? And I'm going to tell you, many leaders are apathetic. Many leaders are sitting in churches, in homes, in businesses, hating their jobs, hating the ministry they're in, hating living at home, because they're living in a place that isn't fulfilled, right? A place of lack of fulfillment, a lack of significance, with lack of convictions, because they have no idea what their purpose is. They have no idea what their significance is. And there's no conviction in them. They don't even know why they get up in the morning, other than going to get a paycheck or doing whatever they're doing, right? But if you could just sit there and say, how do I get better, right? How do I find my purpose? How do I get better, right? And you get in there and you say, hey, listen, if I can have a strong conviction, I'm already 100% better leader if I can find a strong conviction. Then we can talk about vision. Guess what? Vision is just an idea or a thought of a preferred future. It's the leader climbing the tree and saying, hey, we're in the wrong field, right? That's just seeing down the road. That's that vision. That's saying, hey, listen, this is where I believe we're going. And then telling everybody who's following you, this is where I believe we're going, right? That's what vision is all about. You just see a preferred future and you tell people the preferred future. So somebody with conviction and a preferred future, and they're able to communicate that preferred future, guess what? You're already a better leader. And this doesn't mean you have to lead a company to do that, guys. Dad, sitting there, right there on your couch, how could you lead your family to the greatest part of their lives, which is conviction and vision? How can you get them off the couch and out to the park? How can you get them out of the house, which is conviction and vision? How can you raise the next Billy Graham? How can you raise the next John C. Maxwell? How can you raise the next Brandon Bouchard? How can you raise the next president? Just by getting conviction and vision in your household, Dad. Mom, raising the same thing, just by getting conviction and vision. Listen, I don't believe men or women are better leaders. I think they both have the exact same potential to lead at great levels. I think it just comes down to what they decide to do. Okay, so this whole conversation that men are better, women are better, moms are better, dad, no, jump that conversation out your head. That's a stupid conversation. The deal is that the people you find to be the best leaders are those that get off their rear ends and start making a decision to actually be a leader and then develop themselves as a leader and get out there and actually start leading. Do that and start asking these questions. How can I lead better? So moms and dads, if you had conviction and you had passion and you had vision, how can your family be different? Pastor, if I could speak to you for a second, how could your church grow from like 50? Matter of fact, like if you think about it, like 92% of churches are 75 people or less. How can you grow from 75 people or less to 200, 300, 400 people if you had conviction and vision? Businesses, listen, most of us are solopreneurs. How can we grow a team? Listen, what conviction and vision do you need to grow a team? What conviction and vision do you need to actually go from a 5-figure to 6-figure to 7-figure? What are you missing, leader? What are you missing? How can I grow? Most important question you need. Look, we'll go over here. Listen, serve. It says serve first. Key characteristics of great leaders. Serve first. How are you not showing up and serving? Where are you not serving? And I'm not talking about serving us first. I'm talking about serving others first. I'm talking about getting out there and being like, who am I serving? How am I serving them? How am I making my team better? How am I making those around me better? How am I making the world a better place? That is the true servant leader. That is the true person that shows up and says, I am serving my fellow man, my mankind that I am around, right? These are the people that I am here to serve. I'm on a Leadership Live every week. I do 1 hour a week, same time every week, 5 p.m. I'm starting out with this new show, Leadership Live, Everyday Leader Live with Jim Burgoon, right? So here's the deal. Why am I doing this? Because I want to serve you. I'm answering questions. In the future, we're going to see how this takes a turn. I'm going to have some of you guys on and just talk leadership and have rants and just do different things on here and see what works. Why? So that we can make you a better leader, that we can help you grow your leadership potential, that we can help you make an influence and impact and even the income that you deserve. Because I believe in you. I believe in what God has put in you. I believe in your purpose. And to do that, I've got to serve you. And this is one method of way I'm going to serve you. This is how I serve. With my gift and my personality, I'm a communicator. This is how I serve. How are you serving? How are you showing up? Right? The next one is they're action takers. Listen, guys. Listen. Let's talk about this. Are you an action taker? Are you an action taker? If you're an overthinker, tell me in the comments. Are you an overthinker? Let's just be real. Let's have an honest moment. Are you an overthinker? Because I'm going to tell you, life change never happens in the overthinking. And if you ever want to beat overthinking, own that. Say, you know what? I'm an overthinker. I own that. Listen, there are times I overthink, but I'll tell you my secret. Come here for a second. Come here. My secret has been action. The more action I've taken, the less I think about it. The more action I take, the less I think about it, right? The more action I take, the less I think about it. And the less I think about it, the more action I take. Is it right? No, I don't take right action all the time. I don't take the right action all the time, but I take action. And that's what matters. That's what matters, is that I take action. I take action, guys. And you should take action too, guys. That's what matters. You want to beat overthinking? Take action. Take action, guys. The greater the amount of action, the greater success. Listen, if you were a general in the army, and you were sending your army out, you don't have time to decide if you're going to send them this way or that way. You're going to send them like not go or decide to go. You don't have time. You have to make decisive decisions that are going to affect lives, right? You're going to change lives, and you're going to be decisive. You don't have time for 6 and 7 days to figure this out. You got to take action. Even if it's the wrong action, it's got to be action, and you can adjust your course as you go. And some of you guys, let me speak this over your life. Let me say this, because I believe that 2021 is going to be the year that you get off your rear end and you start launching that thing that you've been sitting on for 10 years. Listen, there's been an idea in your life. There's been an idea in your heart that you've been sitting on for like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And you'd be like, I'll get to it. There's a book you've written halfway there and it's not done yet. Guess what? You need to get off that, because there's a person on the other end of that book waiting for you to take action. Listen, it does not need to be perfect. It needs to be done. Let it get done. And then on the other side of getting done, let it be edited and let it go for a second round after it's done. Just take action, get it out there. Somebody is waiting for you to show up. Somebody is waiting for you to be the leader that you were called to be, so that you, my friend, can make life change. Your influence is waiting on you. Your impact is waiting on you. Stop overthinking and start showing up. That's what 2021 is going to be for you guys. Just show up. You know, leaders are people of great humility. Great humility, guys. Leaders know their strengths and their weaknesses. Leaders are able to see the strengths in others and are not threatened by it. Listen, I know my wife's strengths. I'm not threatened by my wife's strengths. Listen, I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for when strong leaders are around me and are stronger in things that I'm weak at. And when you learn to cultivate that level of gratitude, when you learn to be that level of humility, not that you believe that you're humble or you believe that you're not prideful, leave all that junk on the side and just say, you know what, I'm going to strive to build humility and crucify pride so that I can learn to work within the context of a team, so that I can learn to just appreciate those that are in my sphere of influence and those that God allows to have with me and work with me and allow me to pour my life into. Like you guys who are on this stream. Listen, I'm grateful for every one of you guys. I don't care if the number says 1. I don't care if it says 1,001. I don't care. I just know that there is one that I'm pouring my life into, that I'm pouring 20 years of thoughts and experiences and growth and everything and investment and all into, because I believe in you and I believe in what I do. And I'm just grateful because I know that life change is going to happen, because on the other side of that, there's somebody with gifts and talents that are better than my gifts and talents. And I know that just these moments are going to unlock something in you that you're going to change the world. And I'm okay with that. And that brings into influence. Listen, so it's like a ripple. When you throw something in the pond, it ripples. It ripples, guys. And when it ripples, your influence is felt. So how are you influencing? How are you influencing? Right? Influence is trust. Trust means people are able to trust you enough to make the decisions that you're asking them to make, right? People are saying, okay, I'll leave my agenda to get on your agenda. People are saying, hey, I'll come over to this thing, right? Blah. And they'll follow you. That's what influence is. So here's the deal. How are you showing up with the other things? How are you showing up as people of character to be people of influence, so that you can build your audience, so that you can enact change, that you can enact impact? And the last one is in innovation. Innovation is not just meaning something that you just build things and you just do those things. No, what innovation really is that you overcome a problem as they come up, right? It's about, being creative when things come against you, being creative when things happen, being creative and using your team, that humility, that influence and all that things, using your team in the midst of it. It's not all about you. It's saying, hey, this is the strengths. These are the things we've got. These are where we're at. This is the problem we have. How are we going to create something, even if it's never done, to be able to solve this problem and move forward? These are the characteristics of great leaders. And I know you guys maybe have 1 or 2 of these already operating in your life. And maybe you know somebody who has more than that. But this year coming up, I want you to ask yourself, how can I grow in these? Matter of fact, in the comments, let me know which one has been your strongest characteristic and which one do you want to grow in? Which one do you want to grow in and which one has been your strongest? I know for me, if I was look at this list, I would love to grow greater in my influence. I know my influence has been at one place, but I always want to grow in it. That has been one place I'm always looking to grow. So that has been where the characters of those things is. So I want to take a moment for you guys who have been following with me and tracking with me. We've been asking some amazing different questions, some amazing different thoughts here. Remember, we are sitting here on YouTube. I know you guys, there are people on Facebook, there are people on YouTube, there are people all over the place. If you are with me, I want you to come over to YouTube and hang out with me on YouTube. This is where we're at. We are here with the Everyday Leader Live with Jim Burgoon. I am your host. Loving the fact that we're hanging out together. We've been talking today about just Q&A, just different Q&A about things that have been set. Some people have sent some Q&A answers, and we've had some guests who have already been with us today who have asked some questions as well. And I do want to tell you guys, if you guys are here with me, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications. We go live every Friday and we upload videos every week. Why? Because we want to grow your influence, and more influence. Yeah, we want to do all the influences. We want to grow your influence, impact, and your income. But we also want you to be the leader worth following. And to do that, we want to be able to pour these type of things inside of you. So this is what we do here on the new show, which is the Everyday Leader Live each and every week. So grateful you guys have it. Let's just jump back in here. If you have any questions, love to hit me up in the chat. Shoot them down. I will answer them live. So, oops, I lost my sight there for a second. So let's go into the next question here. And I want to actually talk about identity. Identity was something I did not get a chance to talk about last week. And I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with, because in leadership, in life, in just growing up, many people have been through struggles, right? You've been through something. And you know, what was 20, 30 years, maybe 40 years ago, dysfunctional was not a thing. And now everybody's dysfunctional. It seems like we don't ever get out of our childhood unless we're dysfunctional. Like something happened. Like we're living in a fatherless generation. We're living in a lot of different things. So there's a lot of dysfunction that's happening. Now, with that comes the loss of identity. With that comes a challenge of, who am I? Who am I really, right? Because we wear masks. We have these things that we show people. We have these things that we say, here's who I want you to believe I am. Here's who I want you to think I am. And I'm really afraid to take off my mask. I'm really afraid to show you who I am. So in that place is I want to start challenging leaders. I want to start challenging people to lead authentically. Even if you make mistakes, guys. Mistakes are okay. You know, ever see the Bob Ross? Mistakes are little happy accidents that turn into trees, right? Everything's a tree for Bob Ross. But, you know, you got to love that. But the deal is that we've got to learn to live authentically. We've got to learn to live at a place where we're okay with it. Like even during this live, this is a new show for me. And I'm okay with that. But I've made several mistakes. I had 2 lives going at once that caused us to walk really weird at first. There's been several portions where some of this didn't work, but that's okay. It's a learning process. We're learning to live in our own skin. We're learning to be okay with ourselves, right? We're learning to be okay with me. And I want you to be okay with you. And I developed this. It's super simple. It was one of these little things, these little graphics I developed that I thought was super simple. And if you have a little picture, little screenshot thing, this is something I want you to take a screenshot. Now, rewatch this and take a screenshot of anything. Always do that. But this is something that I think that you should add into your journal time. If you're not journaling, I would highly recommend it. It's an amazing therapeutic thing. It's definitely something you can get your thoughts out. But let me show you this. I'm going to put this full screen. So here's the thing. So what's my identity? And it really comes down to 2 things here, guys. It comes down to simply this. It comes down to who am I and who would I like to be? Who am I and who would I like to be? And I put that down there because right now there is somebody you think you are. There is somebody you believe you are. If I was to ask you, who are you? Many of you guys may not be able to come up with a lot of good things. In fact, I can tell you in many of the conversations that I've had, many people would come up with 7 or 8 different bad things and maybe 1 or 2 good things, right? We very much focus on bad things and we focus very little on good things. So with that being said, I want to be able to tell you that's not okay. That's not healthy for us. So we want to change that. So when we get into our places of journaling, everything comes down to what you speak over yourself, how your words, how you speak, all this stuff, the words you speak over yourself determine where your life goes. That whole thing, the Norman Vince Peale positive thinking is a joke. Change your mind, change your life. It's a joke. And the reason why it's a joke is because you can change your thoughts easily, but it doesn't change your life until you change your heart. And I need you to understand that, because I'm a guy who wants life change. I don't want you to feel good. I want you to change your life completely to actually enjoy and be significant. Okay? Because I know if you're significant, you'll be joyful. You'll love your life. You'll absolutely be content. You'll be joyful. When you feel significance and you feel contentment, that's a difference. Happiness is fleeting. But when you have that contentment, man, that's a whole different story. And what these guys do out there is, if you can just change your thoughts, you'll change your life. Yeah, that's conceptually, that sounds great. But until you try to do it. And then when you try to do it, guys, when you get in there and you try to change your thoughts, you're like, oh, well, I changed my thoughts. Like I wanted potato chips, but now I want, broccoli, right? And didn't do anything for me. Why? Because behavioral modification never changes your life. Let me say that one more time. Behavioral modification never changes your life, right? It's when your heart changes, because your heart informs your thoughts. When my heart changes, my mind changes. When my heart changes, my mind changes, which now changes my habits, which now my life is radically shifted. So we bring up things like this because the identity piece, is a heart piece. This is saying, who am I? This is asking the hard questions. This is saying, who am I? Now, who do I want to be? Maybe you're somebody who says, I am somebody who, I don't like how I look. Or maybe you're somebody who says, I don't like that I lie, or I don't like that I'm snippy, and I don't like that whatever. You add whatever your little thing in there. And then you ask yourself, well, who do I want to be? Well, I want to be generous, and I want to be loving, and I want to be kind, and I want to be giving, and I want to be, gentle, and I want to be humble, and I want to be all these good things, right? You write all those things down that you want to be. And then you begin to speak those things over your life. You begin to change, and you begin to shift based on your heart, because you begin to find healing. You offer forgiveness. And there's a whole process to this stuff, guys. But the identity piece is the biggest piece in your life, because once you confirm the identity, once you get into the places where you're starting to confirm and to realize that you're who you were and who you're becoming is not going to be the same thing, that you need to relinquish the lie and believe the truth is what matters. And you need to start speaking over the newness. You need to start saying, that's who I was. This is who I'm becoming. That's who I thought I was. This is who I really am. When you begin to start doing those things, guys, I'm going to tell you the radical shift that happens in your life. This is stuff that never changes. This is not stuff one day you'll wake up and go back to an old life. This is stuff that you'll always, forever, today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life, you will ever, always stay in that new transformed life. Why? Because you changed your heart, which now changed your mind, which changed your habits, which changed and radically transformed your entire life. Dude, girl, lady, friend, start with identity, because our identities are jacked up, which has jacked up our lives. So if we're going to start with something, start with identity. So as we roll down, and let me say this real quick, we're going to roll down into our last piece, because we really do this these parts where we are at a place where we're doing Q&A. This is a weekly show where we're doing Q&A. This is the Everyday Leader Live weekly Q&A show. If you would take a minute, for you guys who are not on YouTube at the moment, if you guys are over on Facebook, please jump over to YouTube, over at my channel. Hit the subscribe, turn on the bell for notifications so you can get the notified every week that we go live. Would love to have you guys as part of the community. As we do this, we talk about different things like how to be a leader. We talk about like leadership skills. We talk about building influence. Matter of fact, we also talk about DISC personality and different things like that. And as we roll down in our last few minutes, and we get out of identity in this, I want to talk about the winner's mindset. And I got a gift for you today. I got goodies for you guys today. And I want to make sure that I give this to you. And I'm going to add this too. If you go to this site here at bit.ly lead with Jim, there's a goodie for you. It's the winner's mindset. It is something that I've put aside for you. It is an ebook. It is 15 declarations on how to change your mindset. It's 15 declarations that you can actually start to shift the way you talk about yourself. Remove all the old crappy stuff that you say about yourself and start adding in positive new things that are going to radically shift the way you talk about yourself. So you get that at bit.ly/leadwithjim. And you can actually, if there is a link on the YouTube stream, if you want to grab it on the YouTube stream, you can do that. Other than that, let me show you a little bit about this thing. And I want to be able to talk a little bit about it because it goes into the way we just talked. You change your heart, you change your mind, you change your life, right? So when we get to these places, we want to make sure that we are always at a place of changing the way we talk. Because guys, here's the deal. The way we talk about ourselves, the way we communicate what's over our lives is going to always be indicative of the way we actually live our lives. So, and many of us get into these places where we have really negative things that we speak about ourselves. Let's just get real. We really speak negative about ourselves. We really, really do. And I don't want that anymore. I want you to be the leader worth following. I want you to be somebody who is going to be somebody who's winning. I want you to have success. I want you to have continual success. I want you to be somebody who's going to be out there doing the thing, right? I want you to be somebody who is out there doing the thing. So here, doing all the things. So here, let me show you this thing. And when we get down here, this, like I said, gets down into these things where you are going to start making declarations. I invest my time, treasure, and talent wisely. Right? And we're just declaring things. I mean, pick 2, 3, 4, declare them. I invest my time wisely. I'm the one who gets to dictate that, right? I'm the one who gets to dictate that. I will commit to being, 1% better every day. And it's just waking up and already setting your mindset to be a winner. Like before you even get out of bed, you can already have a card with like 3 or 4 of these written on it, and you're already going to set your mindset. What you set your mindset before you even start your day is how you're going to set your day. Most people are like, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. No, you didn't. Get up and get off and just say, you know what? I'm going to be 1% better today. Whatever that looks like for you, I'm going to be 1% better today. I invest my time how I want to invest my time, and I'm going to do it wisely. You know, Netflix is going to get 2 hours less, and my career is going to get 2 hours more. You know, you're going to say stuff like that because then you're going to actually do it, because where my mouth goes, my body moves. Right? Where my mouth goes, my heart goes. Where my mouth goes, my actions go. So begin to say those things over your life. You know, you start thinking about that. I will remain grateful. No matter what comes at me, I will remain grateful. Right? So there's all these different things that you can begin to say. I will fall in love with the process. Listen, we all want the destination, but nobody wants the process. But I'm going to tell you, if I fall in love with the process, you'll get the destination. And then the process becomes a joy to go through. Right? Now, yeah, there are things that's going to be tough, but guess what? Take the joy and run to the destination. That's what it is. I like this one. I will lead. I will learn to take feedback. We need to stop being hurt all the time when people are trying to give us constructive criticism. Not those jerks and trolls out there trying to just give us like what they think about stuff because they hate life themselves. No, but I'm talking about constructive criticism to make us better. Listen, I will learn to take feedback, because feedback is gold. Feedback actually helps me move forward. Feedback actually gives me what I need in order to be who I'm supposed to be, right? And again, there's 15 of these guys, and I want you guys to have this. This is my gift to you. Merry Christmas. You know, when I wrote this with leaders in mind, because I wanted you guys to be the best that you could be. So I wanted to be able to do that for you guys. That is where we're at. And you can see that on the screen. It is down there with Lead with Jim at bit.ly. That is where it is, guys. So with all of that being said, as we close down today's stream, I just want to thank you all for being with me, hanging out with me today. If there's any other guys, for you guys who are with me, still with me, any questions, any thoughts, I'd love to hear you guys in the comments, in the question down there. Let me know, and I'm happy to answer them live. And let me just kind of give you some last closing minute thoughts. If there's anything that comes up, I'll answer them before I jet. But let me give you some last minute thoughts. We are in the last, 10 days. And I'm not counting Christmas Eve. I'm not counting Christmas Day. And I'm not counting New Year's Eve, because those 3 days are legitimately days that you and I should be taking off. And if you're an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur, and we deal leadership, we like to work through every day. And because work, being an entrepreneur, creating is fun. So we don't take days off, right? But I'm going to challenge you to take those 3 days off. And here's the deal. So you probably got 10 days left. And I want to challenge you to start thinking remember, we talked about early in the stream. If you missed it, you can go back. I leave these streams up for a few days. You could go back and sit there and say, we talked about focus and simplicity. But the deal is I want you to hear this real quick. You have 10 days, about roughly, to maybe 12, 10, to really kind of take a second, take a journal, and think about, how do you want to grow? Where do you want to grow? What are the things that you want to do in this life? Like, what is it in 2021? I want you to be super, super, super. I'm gonna say it one more time because you need to hear this. Super specific on your 2021 goals. I don't want you to make any New Year's resolutions, ladies, guys, gentlemen. You're not gonna do them. Let's just get real. You're gonna have a vision board that's gonna collect dust. I want you to actually have something you're gonna complete. So I want you to challenge you. I'm gonna challenge you, and I'm doing this myself. I want to challenge you to actually get out there and to be able to be very, very super specific about your 2021 goals, right? And to actually sit there and say, this is the one thing I want in 2021. Now, if you can get that by March, add a second goal, right? And you just keep adding as you go. And I like vision boards. I'm a very, very visual guy. I'm a high I personality on disc, and you'll hear more about that as we go on. I got some great things happening in 2021 and the end of 2020 for you guys. But as a visual guy, I love vision boards. But guess what? Let's just be real with ourselves. Most of us, our vision boards look pretty, but we never do anything on them. So I want to do something with you where we talk about in the next week, where you and I talk about this, where we're going to sit there and say, for accountability, I want you to pick one goal, one major goal for 2021. And it's got to be like crazy. Like, I'm going to go after this thing. I want this thing, right? And we're going to be specific. And we got 12 months to finish it. For some of you, it's to restore your marriage. For some of you, it may be your first 6 figures. For some of you, it may be starting that business. For some of you, it may be getting off your rear ends and launching that book. Whatever that is the thing I need you to put down, because you can't play small anymore, guys. 2021, as much as it dealt with in focus, 2021 focused us. 2020 focused us. 2020 brought simplicity, right? 2021 is going to bring explosive growth. I'm going to speak that out. We're going to speak that out. It's going to bring explosive growth. And I want you to tell you that in the end, you are going to be successful. I'm going to serve you at my highest level coming through this show and through many other channels that I'm doing. And I'm going to be here for you showing up. And so I want you to show up. And let's see what the success we can create together. Guys, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us at the Everyday Leader Live. Remember, grab that thing at bit.ly/Lee with Jim. It's all there on the screen. It's the Winner's Mindset, 15 declarations ebook for you to help change your mindset from the average, everyday, mediocre mindset to a winner's mindset, to be able to declare those things over your life. It's my gift to you. Merry Christmas. Matter of fact, I've got more Christmas gifts coming up soon. Again, these are Q&As. I do want you to be able to drop Q&As in the chats. I will answer them live, and look for some other cool things that we're going to do with this show as we evolve and grow with it. Much love, guys. Thank you so much. And I'm going to peace out at this point. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate. I'm just going to say I love each and every one of you guys, and I look forward to seeing how much of an impact and how much influence and how much income that you create in 2021, because you are a leader